Well, good morning, folks. I just want to talk about these COVID tests and the masking and the mold that was in some of the swabs. Now, I'm gathering this information. From the moment that this coronavirus came out, I thought to myself, okay, and pay attention, see what's going on. Because it wasn't like, just any pandemic. This just seemed different. So I am not an expert, an ENT expert, but I know that you're not supposed to be sticking things up your nose. I personally use a Q-tip, and I'm going to show you. I always carry Q-tips in my purse, and I use them when I take a shower every day. I come out of the shower, my ears are wet sometimes, but I always do this to prevent wax buildup. It helps with my hearing, but it also keeps everything clean, and I like that feeling. So I go in as deep as is safe, okay? So children shouldn't be doing this. Children shouldn't be doing this because they could go deep and hurt themselves. So parents need to do this. And then I do this like so without contaminating, and then I go like so. I like to do that, and that keeps me from getting ear infections, because as a child I used to get back-to-back ear infections, and I actually had a ruptured eardrum, which it's ruptured. I have a scarred eardrum, but it did not affect my hearing. So whenever I take Q-tips from one container to another, I make sure that this container is clean and that I don't handle this part of the Q-tip. I only handle it like so after I've washed my hands. And this is just for me, my personal use. Okay? Now, those people that are out there in these testing sites, they're wearing gloves, they're wearing masks, and they're wearing shields, which they don't need. They do need the gloves, but if you notice, they're not going to change the gloves after each testing. Just like I was telling my friend a few years ago, many years ago, when I was a young airman, was stationed down here at Keesler, I went to a Subway, and back then the Subway, they used the gloves, but the young lady who was working at Subway, just did not understand, that when you wear gloves, you prepare the food and then you take them off to handle cash, to handle money. But now Subway has like 2 or 3 people working behind the counter. You have one person that handles the cash and one person that handles the food. And when there's only one, they always take off their gloves to handle money. But back then, things were different. The young lady just didn't understand that she was to wear the gloves to protect, the food that she was preparing, to protect me from her. But when she handled the cash, she didn't understand that she had handled the cash prior to making my sandwich. And I asked her, please change your gloves. And then she asked me why. Then I explained to her. But see, now, that was a long time ago. That was 25 years ago. But at these testing sites, people are doing this to multiple people. They're not changing their gloves as far as I'm concerned. You're not supposed to be sticking anything up in there. I'm not an ENT expert, but I know that you can cause trauma. Especially if you're like volunteering, you're going out there and you're doing this fast. To me, that's not smart. Now, I do put a Q-tip that's clean for my personal use or my children's personal use. I take clean hands. I always wash my hands with soap and water, not an antibacterial. I wash my hands with soap and clean running water, which the Navajo nation does not have enough or adequate water supply. And that's a shame because they're the first Americans. And to me, it's like the government's way of saying, we don't care about you, you're not our priority. But I'm a racist. Yeah. Okay. So I take my clean Q-tip with clean hands and I go only as deep as I need to, only for cleaning my little boogies, or if I got powder up in there, I go like this and I look at it in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I only go as deep as I need to. If I have like maybe dried up mucus or dried up blood from just like the air being dry, then I will, go in there very so carefully. But I'm doing it to myself and I know how far to go, deep to go. But that's all I have to say about that. Now, with mold, I have always been concerned about mold. And I know that some people may not think that I'm the cleanest person in the world. But mold health issues have always been a concern of mine because I actually was exposed to mold here in Alabama. I lived in an apartment complex that had water damage, really bad water damage through the ceiling, and every time they repaired the leak, it would rain and the leak would get larger and larger because water finds a way. So the water would find a way around the putty, and so it never really got to set. So the water would just go around and it would get larger and larger, and there was mold growing up in there. And when you walked into my apartment, it smelled like ammonia. And the manager of the apartment complex said, "No, Susan, I don't think that there's mold growing up in there. We've tried to fix it, but I think the people down below you are cooking meth." So the neighbor came up to see me and said, "I hope that, because I hear a rumor that we're cooking meth, but we're not cooking meth." And I was just like, I have a young child. I'm unemployed. I had asked the Veterans Homelessness Prevention Program for a job and a place to stay. This is when Alexander was still little. And they sent me to a Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Lloyd was supposed to give me a job through his agency for a warehouse. Well, last minute he decided, no, I need a secretary for my office. The whole thing was a scam. I have it documented. When my son went to the health department for a dental checkup, the technician donned gloves and had her tray fixed. She accidentally dropped it on the floor and everything went flying out. She took the same gloves that she had donned on to do my son's examination, and she put everything back on the tray, including the dental floss that had already been prepped. The only thing that she did was she took the prepped floss, threw it out. Did not change her gloves and continued to prep new floss. And I said, "Excuse me, but would you please, use another dental floss?" And she's like, "Why? I'm taking out some new floss." And I said, "No, the metal part touched the floor where we walk on. This is not a surgery here, so people are not walking around in booties, and this whole thing is not sterile. It's just a clean procedure." But she was going to use those same gloves. I had to ask her, "Would you please don on some new gloves?" She got an attitude. at the health department here in Alabama. This is why they don't want people like me working. I was a clinic manager of an infertility clinic. I had a lot of responsibility while I was an airman in the Air Force. I got out as an E4, honorably discharged, working directly for a physician who actually offered me a job. He said, Susan, if you want to go on to, nursing school, get your degree, you basically guaranteed me a job. That was not my calling. While in the military, I was not getting enough exercise, and I was, overweight. I was on the weight management program because I was not able to eat the way I used to before I went in the military. Before I went in the military, I was not overweight. I did not have any health issues. And while in the military, I started gaining weight because we were eating a lot of MREs for our red flag, all of this training. You're training for war. So you have to eat MREs. And, they constipate you. These MREs are loaded with fat and calories because it's for sustaining people in an emergency situation. But when you're feeding a 5'1" young lady or young healthy people, you're eating this stuff on a regular basis. That's not healthy for our health. Plus, the cafeteria back in the days didn't have vegetarian or meals or olive oil or whole grain. I mean, they did have whole grain, but they didn't have, like stuff that they have now. This is why I wanted to open up my restaurant with the smoke outside, because back in the days when you went into a restaurant, even though you were in the non-smoking section, you were literally sitting in the same under the same roof where there's the smokers and the non-smokers, all under the same roof. And the employees who may or may not be pregnant, who may or may not have asthma, who are working to pay health insurance, but maybe not in the restaurant business because they don't make enough. But at the casinos, they were working at the casinos because they were wanting health insurance, all under the same smoking environment. This is why I went to the casinos. I went to the VIP, and I said, I love the fact that y'all are offering these tiny little desserts instead of like at the dessert bar. Because I was losing a lot of weight all by myself because I'm my own nutritionist and my own chiropractor. Yes, because I had some back issues from being rear-ended, and I straightened my own back. My Father God said, lay down, put this down on the floor and lay down. My Father God told me to do that. And so I did, and it was straightened. But every now and then I visualize my back, I roll it like so, but I don't want to show you. I would love to show you, but I don't want you to think that I'm stripping, because I'm not a stripper. What I do in the privacy of my home or the privacy of my privacy, whether it's somebody else's home, it's my private matter. I'm not out there advertising myself. I know I don't have the best body. I know I have stretch marks and scars. And some of you may be disgusted by my naked body. But I don't care, because that's not what I'm here for. I am here to heal you and to snap you out of it. Wake you up. God is a God of freedom, not oppression. God is a God of truth, not lies. God is a God of oxygen, not carbon monoxide. And He's all about straightening. When I was very young, 15 years old, military brat, army brat, I had a gap between my teeth. And they were straight, but I had a gap. And I went to the dentist. I told my stepfather, please take me to the dentist. I want to get retainers. And the dentist said, well, I can put putty in between the teeth. And I said, no, 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 no. You are telling me that the reason why I have a gap between my teeth is because I need a frenectomy. So let us do the frenectomy, but I don't want putty between my teeth so I can look like I have one giant beaver tooth. That just don't make no sense. Because sometimes a double negative makes sense. It just don't make no sense. So I said, please let's do the retainers. So they did. But I had to ask for it. I was 15 years old. I am 46 years old. So you're going to tell me that I am less wise now than I was when I was 15. Okay. So, I have one leg longer than the other. Literally. It's about 3/4 of an inch longer than the other. But I try to correct my limp. I try to, when I'm standing for a long period of time, I lift my left foot like I'm on my tippy toes just to balance my hips, because I know that if I don't have my feet at the same height, it's going to make me lose balance at the hips and the back, and then you have back problems. I know that when you lift heavy things, you're supposed to lift with your legs, not your back. I know about body mechanics, proper body mechanics. I have fallen, but I remember PLF. Like when you fall, you're supposed to just fall with your, you just have to, you see it coming, so you're ready for it. I have fallen in hospitals. I have fallen in hotels, in a kitchen, with a glass in my hand. By the grace of God, that glass, I fell, and that glass did not hurt me. I'm not here bragging. I'm here telling you who I am. I am my Father's daughter. And people don't want me to speak. They don't want me to speak. Because it's too much. It's too much for me. Well, don't listen. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. I have been able to maintain my weight since I lost it. Many years ago. I started losing the weight in 2002. I had taken a nutrition class, and I decided I want to apply my knowledge. And I started making phone calls, and I'm not bragging. I'm just here to tell you who I am. I am my Father's daughter. I'm not alone. I'm not the only daughter that God has. God has many daughters. You hear me? Me equals we. I'm not here bragging about being holy. I am my Father's daughter, and so are you. You are the sons and daughters of God. We are the walking body, the living body. When His feet land on earth, we are the body. When we recognize what we are seeing and not deny it, it will manifest itself. I am 46 years old. Been able to maintain my weight because I was called lazy, fat, bitch. I said, well, okay, I'll suck this in or perk this, arch my back. I'm not doing this to flirt with men. I am doing this for proper body mechanics. So you better recognize who I am. I'm not a biblical whore. And I'm not the Antichrist. And yes, I do curse. I curse like a sailor sometimes. And I ask my Father for forgiveness, but He's already forgiven me. For He knows what I'm dealing with here. I'm dealing with stubbornness. But you are stub-born because He has most mercy on you. He said, all Israel will be saved. All of Israel. Who's Israel? Is it a country? Yes. But Israel really is the faithful remnant. The people who have not lost in faith in the God of Israel, the God of Jacob. The 12 tribes. The faithful remnant. Jews and Gentiles. Jesse us. Jesse us. Jesus. E at the cross. Look it up. Keep looking up, giving thanks for the many gifts that He has given you. Keep reading up. Bind your books. We are missing some books. They shall be found. We shall put them together to fill in the gaps without making up. Because the truth is God and God is truth. And I am underneath God. Underneath. I am with God and God with me. We were lifted. We went up, up, up to the right. If Satan is to our right, or let me put it this way. If we are to the right of God, when we ascend, which already happened, but when Jesus, see, we're the body of Christ. Jesus. We are the different members. When Jesus is up there, He's at the right side of the Father, the right hand of the Father. So if we are to the right of God, or Jesus, if Jesus is to the right hand of the Father is to the left of Jesus. We went up, up, up into Him, into His heart. My heart, my left. We went up to the right from the inside. My left. You have to look at it from the inside. Out! And left to right and right to left. Because some of us read from left to right and some of us read from right to left. We, west and east. You get it! I am not a liar and I do curse. And I am human. And I'm not lying about this. Nobody's paying me to do this. And I've been told, you need to find a place. And I will. God will provide. Some people don't want to hear about God because they're stubborn. But because of His most mercy on us. Thank you.